Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I'm your host, Hery Acosta. New episode today. Let's talk about Pascal Siakam winning the Indiana Civil Rights Community Engagement Award. Now, that's a big deal for Siakam. He's only been in Indiana since 2023. Already giving back to the community, already being that great person that he is. Congrats to him. Very excited to see what he does next season, of course. That's speaking basketball, but outside of basketball, there's no denying that Siakam is a good person. Very down-to-earth, very humble guy. So it's great to see him winning this award and seeing him get the recognition he deserves. So that's always great. Great to see NBA players, NFL players, just celebrities in general giving back to the community. We look up to these people. We follow these people on social media. We love seeing what they're doing outside of the game or obviously during the game. And it's just honestly wonderful to see someone like Siakam. Always comes to play with a smile, always working hard. Just someone who looks like you can grab a coffee with. So that's great. That's great for him. So big congratulations to Siakam for that. Now, talking a little bit about basketball, saw some things online. A bunch of people thinking that Ray J. Dennis could potentially fit more into the rotation. Now, could it happen? Potentially, if obviously there's more injuries that occur, which could be possible. Nembhard's in and out of the lineup during the regular season with injury. Mathurin, he was very healthy last season, but the year before he missed the whole season after March. So you never know with the Pacers who can be in and who can be out, but it's always next man up. And Ray J. Dennis is an absolute baller in the G League. Now, is it going to fully translate to the NBA? Has it fully translated to the NBA? Not necessarily. But he is a very skillful player. A little on the shorter side, but still speedy, great passer. So just someone you would want to see get his minutes in the G League. In the Summer League, he's putting up 16 and 6, which is not too bad. Obviously, the Summer League has a lot more players to go around. You don't really have to always put in your best lineup. But, Ray J's been looking good in the Summer League. He looked good in the G League, putting up 22 points a game. So seeing him just kind of ball out in the G League throughout the season will be very important for next year. And then obviously bringing him up when he's needed. Get those certain amount of games that he can play. If there's like a game or two where, we're like ahead by a little bit or we just need to try something new, bring him in, see what he could do. So that'd be fun to watch. Could definitely see him gravitating towards 5 to 10 minutes a game if needed. But at the moment, he's probably going to just continue to come in during during like garbage time and just seeing what he can do there, which if that's what they end up doing, not the end of the world. There's still time for him to develop. So always something to definitely look at. Now, something else to talk about is without Hallebert, the offense will probably be a lot different. You don't have that primary facilitator. Now, don't get me wrong, Nembhard is a very good point guard, but Nembhard's been playing the 2 since Hallebert came to Indy. So now you're putting him into that facilitator role, and a lot of the offense is now going to run through Mathurin and Siakam if Mathurin ends up starting, just because Mathurin's the kind of guy that's going to take a shot when he feels like he wants to. A lot of the times it goes in, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have the greatest shot selection. Sometimes he takes a contested 3 just to take it. So that's something that we're going to have to adjust with. And I will be talking about here in a few minutes about Rick Carlisle and just kind of how he can handle that offense. But as of right now, it's going to definitely be interesting to see how the Pacers really react to not having Hallebert. Also react to not having Miles Turner. Now, I've seen a lot of opinions on Turner on the comment section, so that's to each its own. Obviously, Turner was a decent three-point shooter. There was games where he was just completely out of it. He's not always in the paint. He was pretty much never in the paint. The paint was pretty much for Nembhard and Siakam during last season's run. They were the mostly got into the paint. Obviously, they're also three-point shooters, 5 out. That's just pretty much how Indy has been playing. But depending on what the lineup is right now, Matherin's a guy that likes to go in the paint. Yes, he shoots threes. Yes, he shoots mid-range, but he's a guy that likes to go in the paint and try to get fouls called. And a lot of times he does. He was one of the people that got to the line the most last season, even though he was off the bench. There were so many games where he was the leading free throw shooter on the team. But it also could be because a lot of players don't get the calls, but we also do shoot a lot of threes. So, and then obviously McConnell, when you get off the bench, McConnell, Toppin, Furphy, Walker, Shepard, whoever, Wiseman, Huff, whoever comes off the bench, they're going to have to adjust to whatever offense that the Pacers are going to end up playing next year. Obviously, Toppin is also a player. Toppin and McConnell like to get in the paint as well. And then a player like Wiseman and Jackson, they're going to live in the paint. They're not floor spacers. They're going to be in the paint. The only center that you're really going to have to know that's going to floor space is going to be Jay Huff. And even then, it's not going to be like the craziest amount of floor space. But definitely just try to see how the offense flows through Nembhard, through Matherin, through Siakam, just to see how different it looks next year. And then for Rick Carlisle, we've seen what Rick Carlisle has done as a coach in the NBA, winning that 2011 finals, which obviously if the Pacers would have won this finals, they would have given the 2011 Mavericks a run for their money. Just not because of the fact that obviously the Mavericks beat a super team, the Big Three, in a very demanding fashion. But the Pacers, while they were underdogs in every series, they also didn't. They had a one All-NBA third-team player, and they had one All-Star because Hallebert wasn't even an All-Star that year, and Siakam didn't make the All-NBA team. But it was just like a bunch of role players playing their role at an exceptional level. That's pretty much what the Pacers were doing this year. And so that would have been an interesting comparison. But both teams had one thing in common. They were coached by Rick Carlisle. Now, with the Mavericks, Rick Carlisle knew to run his game through Dirk Nowitzki. They had Jason Kidd facilitating at that time. They also had J.J. Barea, who was a pretty good point guard. And obviously spacing out the floor with Jason Terry, having a great defensive center in Tyson Chandler, also having a very good player in Sean Marion, and just a very good bench that included players like Corey Brewer. He knows how to utilize deep rosters, whether or not he has the star caliber players, which the Pacers do. Pacers have star caliber players, and they did in the finals run. But now, just to see how Rick Carlisle handles a roster that just lost their longest tenured player, that doesn't have their star player for the season, and just pretty much kind of what I talked about earlier with running the offense. Same thing with the defense, kind of switching up matchups because you're going to have Nembhard on the best guard and you're going to have Nesmith on their second best player most likely if their second best player is a forward. Because Nembhard could realistically guard 1 through 3. Nesmith could guard 1 through 4. Just kind of because of size differential. But we saw how Nembhard was putting Brunson in clamps. He was the best defender against SGA. Nesmith struggled a little bit against SGA. Wasn't as bad against Brunson. Nesmith is a great defender, but he's also a guy who gets into foul trouble a lot, kind of like Ben Shepherd on the bench. But there's definitely going to be a lot of work to be done next year if the Pacers want to be competitive in the NBA. So that's always going to be something fun to look at. I am very excited for next season. I just want to see what the Pacers can do. I kind of see some entertaining basketball because obviously the Pacers, at one hand, they have struggled without Hallebert, but on the other hand, other players step up. So we could see dramatic changes in scoring, changes in rebounding, and changes in assists. So just pretty much everyone has the ability to get career highs around the board this year. So that's definitely something that should be looked at this year. And Rick Carlisle, one of the best coaches in the NBA, could definitely see what he could do this year. But as always, I am your host, Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby, and go, Sirs.